Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Deck Doctor. Deck Doctor is a idea that I stole wholesale from and this is me giving credit to where the origin of the idea, a streamer from Hearthstone, the first ever Hearthstone World Champion, in fact, whose name was Firebat. Firebat was a really good strategy game streamer back in my Hearthstone days many years ago, and he had a series where he would take a deck from a viewer, play a game with it, fix it up in whatever way he thought as a competitive player would work best competitively, and iterate on that until the final result was ideally a little bit better than original. And, you can see people build decks online. That's not so rare, but a series for it where I take a bad idea or a good idea with that isn't quite optimal and iterate on it, I think could be really valuable as a learning resource. These decks aren't necessarily going to be what I, will play competitively, and they're not necessarily going to be the best decks in the world. But I hope that they give some insight into how you should think about building decks, so that if you're going to give your ideas a shake, and you should just try things, like you should just put things together and try them, how to actually have fun with that experience, because what I don't want is people to have interesting or alternative ideas, put together a deck and think, oh, that idea didn't work, when actually the deck was just a little bit off and wasn't competitively minded enough to have fun with. I'd like to get everything to at least the threshold where you can play it and have fun. And our first submission today is going to be from Peter Cilio, who messaged me on Discord, and I strongly encourage anyone watching to message me your bad decks, your bad deck ideas. Don't message me good ones. I don't care. I want bad ones. Who has put together a beautiful little core damage-based Leo deck. So core damage has worked in this current meta, worked in one deck, and it worked in this deck, which is a very different deck. Still, obviously, HB. This deck, this HB position design deck, worked by basically spamming out money using the 6 hand size plus your digital life, which is what PD does. Then having enough money to play big deal on their salvo testing. Salvo testing reads, can I bring this up? Yes. Can I make it bigger? Yes. Whenever you score an agenda, including the actual salvo testing itself, do a core damage. And it's a 5/3 agenda, so pretty hard to score these, pretty hard to score them early. Oftentimes in Netrunner, a scoring game plan looks like you score out a bunch of useful 3/2s and 4/2s, and your 5/3s either finish the game when you score them, or they just don't get scored at all, and you just kind of use them as a defensive thing to kind of put all your agendas in a basket that you can keep safe. This one is been awkward in Hearthstone, Netrunner history, because it's so big and it wants to be scored first. It really wants to be the first agenda that you score, and then you need to have a reason why this matters, because an important thing to think about is you have 5 hand size in Netrunner. Taking a damage brings you down to 4. Take a core damage because you don't heal core damage back. Why do you care about losing that? Well, you kind of don't care about that. Going from 5 hand size to 4 hand size is a pretty marginal decrease in the number of runner options available, a pretty marginal decrease in their survivability, and the value being lost of losing one card is not that big of a deal. The second one is quite a bit more substantial. Going from 4 hand size to 3 hand size is gone from losing 20% of your available options to losing 25%. That's quite a bit more. And then once you're down from 3 to 2, all of a sudden you've got 2 cards to play with. Your options are so limited. Your options for skill expression, hand size is kind of correlated with the number of options you can do, which allows for more avenues to outplay 2 cards in hand. Things get really bad for you. Specifically, things get extra bad for you via the means of ontological dependence. This is the big payoff for taking core damage. It says it's a 4-2 by default, so it's 4-2 that gives you nothing when you score it, but it says it has -1 advancement requirement for each core damage the runner has taken this game. The threshold for this is 2, because with 3 clicks you can install advance, a 2-point agenda, and if this can become a 2-2, that is absurd value, and that is how you score out 2-2s. Would be the best agenda in the game. So if you can make this 2-2, you got the best agenda of the game. Your path to victory can be as simple as I score salvo testing, I score onto, done. That's the dream. Oftentimes in this deck, it actually looks like I score salvo for the first core damage, I score an Olivigar for the second core damage, and then you can just jam 2 ontos and they are each beautiful. So the power of scoring out salvage testing was such in this deck that basically if they had big deal salvo testing, which was the way they scored it from hand, they would kind of just win. They would kind of just win almost outright. They would have very few turns. It was very hard to interact and see enough cards to steal all the other ontos. If you could steal all the ontos, they did sputter out a little bit, but because they could fast advance them, and because it's PD, you can kind of just get some clicks in some ways. It was very good. They also ran dupestad grids. They often wouldn't even protect dupestad grid, or if they did, it was with a single piece of ice, just to deal with the extra core damage, because again, you need to get to 2. The fastest way to get to 2 is just to score the salvo off the dupestad, and then you can just roll them. Notably, they wouldn't run damage. This is not a damage deck. This is just put 7 points in your score area by dealing 2 core damage, and it works. Interesting thing to note here is that the chosen agenda suite, which I completely agree with, is very few agendas. Agendas ice, very small ice suite with tiny little barriers, tiny little code gates, although surprisingly taxing, and tiny little drafters. You can't run through drafting. So this does demand that you install your full breaker suite pretty much if you want to get through all these types. But they'd usually just chuck 1 in front of each server. Their third server was just a dupestad if they iced it at all. And turns out this is correct for this type of deck. We are taking a very different approach using this Leo deck. We have to table our salvo testing, which, I'll run through what this list does because it's very important. We also want to score salvo testing first. This is the primary win condition of the deck. It may work without doing that, but in order to justify salvo testing, to justify this whole core damage idea, scoring salvo testing is still step 1, meaning we have to draw it, and because we can't fast advance it, we have to have a place we can put it when we draw it, where we can reliably score it out. Leo's ability helps massively for pointing to something and say, I will score this agenda. So yeah, that's step 1. We're still trying to win out with ontologicals. And the other agendas we've chosen are Olivigars. 1 Olivigar makes some sense. And 2 Ingatans. The 2 Ingatans don't make any sense. One of those should at least be a luminal transubstantiation, because we are never going to over-advance it. But I'm always going to play the deck as it was given to me. I'm just making notes of things before I even play. Other things we've got auto campaigns. I don't think this is sticking around, but we'll play with it, of course. Auto campaigns for a little bit of money, and if it works, you can maybe get out your salvo testing somehow, or with a nano management, you can get it out. I'll show you how that line works. Anthills for money is not a bad idea at all. You do have influence to work with playing Leo because all your good stuff is in faction. Spectres Regoliths are going to be our main source of dollars, which tells us that this is not nearly as fast as this deck, but we're saying that's fine because we can play bigger ice, so we can go slower, we can slow the game down. All good stuff. I'm going to note that Dupestad in this deck kind of makes more sense because we're expecting to stick a remote server. But I'm curious as to whether or not we can afford this as our dedicated location. What are these? Region? Because this deck is also doing assets, and I like Tranquility Home Grid a lot, so I'm curious as to what I'm going to feel about this Dupestad. Obviously, it's the way to get the second. What's it called? The core damage that we need. But we'll see how the 3 Dupestads is also a lot. It's also a lot of Dupestads. I'm worried of drawing 2 Dupestads and just saying that's not good. And the Ice Suite is a bit speckly. We've got 1 Ablative Barrier, 3 Bronze. Bronze, of course, you run 3 Bronze in Leo. Bun is a Biroid. Leo's ability massively benefits from Biroid, even though Bun isn't necessarily the one you want to be trashing. It's just also good. Hakal is a Biroid, and makes a little bit of sense in this deck. This is a Biroid that does core damage and ends the run. Hey, that's not bad. The 1 Ablative Barrier. I love Ablative Barrier. I think it's so good. It might not be right for this deck, and I'll talk about why later. MIC is just good in Leo, and it's a good code gate. 1 Unsale. Unsale is not a premium ice at all in this meta, I don't think. I'm rarely impressed by Unsale. But it's a Biroid, so you can kind of just slam it in. 3 Boomies, you just put those in Leo, and 1 Jaguarundi as the bad face check, I guess. I don't like Jaguarundi, I don't think he's very good. But we don't have a tag punishment. I don't know. We'll see whether or not I like Jaguarundi in the game that we play. And the kick of the deck, the roundhouse, might have noticed, we've got 8 influences of measured response in here. 2 measured response. This card is the most important one to know. If you're playing Netrunner, it reads, play only if the threat level is 4 or greater. That means 4 more points have been stolen, which, if we're losing, will happen, and if we're winning, may happen. Deal 4 meat damage, unless the runner pays 8. Our server is going to be very expensive, so I could imagine a world where the runner goes, steals our points, and then has less than 8. Could absolutely happen, I would expect that. And if we've done 2 core damage to them, this just kills them. Most of the time. Well, all the time. If they've taken 2 core damage and they don't have tricks, this will just kill them. So I'm curious as to how this will play and whether I feel good about this as a threat. One thought I had before even going to the game is that if we are the one who have gotten to this threat 4, the run does have to make a successful run to turn this on, and also be broke. If we're the ones at threat 4, and that's how we've done the core damage, we can kind of close out the game on our own. We do have 3 ontologicals in here. This is the win con if we do the core damage with our Dupestads and our salvos, I'm assuming. Then they take all the ontos, and we can't find our ontos. This is kind of another ontological, as crazy as that is to say, because we can, rather than just fast advancing ontological, we play measured response, and that also ends the game at a high threat. Maybe a weird way to think about it. Obviously, you can kill regardless of core damage. Sometimes you can just play 2 of them and work. But yeah, it's a spicy include. I don't think people are going to expect it very much. And let's give it a darned go, hey? Also, I should bring up my chat because people could be telling me all sorts of wonderful things and I wouldn't even know. One sec. I will upload this on YouTube, maybe even edit it, ? But you all deserve to know that I am streaming this live, so people will have things to say, perhaps. One sec. Sorry, I used to have a little thing that had my chat on it. I'm not very good at streaming, is something to keep in mind. It's an important fact. Oh well, how important can it be? No one has anything important to say, right? You could just DM me on Discord, I guess, if you do. Where were we? Get rid of that. Okay. Looking good. All right, let's put it up. I'm going to be playing today with my fellow wage worker. He's going to be my test dummy. That's going to be Bowlesley, also from London. Excellent player, plays extremely well at Worlds. So he's going to absolutely probably destroy anything suboptimal that I play. But also that's a good measuring stick for the deck. We're going to play as Corp, Standard. I'm going to say password protected. I'll save replay. And go. And let me check how this looks on stream if everything's clear. Okay, so what have we got here? We've got salvo testing, very important. We've got a hedge fund, I love it. We've got an MIC, that's not so bad. And that's it. In fact, we have 2 salvo testings, which is definitely one too many. Maybe full screen, right? It's definitely one too many. I'm a bit concerned about transfer of wealth, just putting us back into the Stone Age. Well, we can always bring up the list and see what else we've got. Turn 1 ice. I'm not sure if any of our ice is good in turn 1, but I'm not sure that jamming hedge fund MIC salvo testing in the remote is going to fly. So this is going to be a mulligan. We need to find our assets in order to float this game, I think. Okay, we've got a couple lines here. I love putting an HQ ice down. It could even do a core damage, but probably won't. But this is just so that if we do get like boomerang transferred, we have counterplay. It may simply be hedge fund ice ice, and we save the asset jam till next turn. It could be ice ice, so ice HQ, ice remote, and install a asset. That's probably too greedy against Sable. It is simply going to be a hedge fund. We definitely need to put something on HQ. I love putting a Boomy on HQ in case of emergency. And we've got to do something else. Obviously, we do need to ice R&D at some point. Hakar's probably not the ice for that, though. Hakar's probably going to sit on my Civil one. I'm not sure if you guys can hear the audio, but I'm going to turn it down because JNet noises are not necessarily what everyone wants to hear all the time. Okay, now let's see whether we get rolled. R&D Mark is obviously beautiful. We have nothing protective in our deck, so this is just an empty server, and if they steal the salvo off the top, we're in a seriously bad spot off the get-go. It's a good serve. It's a good turn one run. They get nothing though. Hopefully that's our next piece of ice that's going to help us out for the long term. Oof, that's a good draw. But we didn't get Boomerang transferred, so I'm not complaining. It was a piece of ice that's going to help us out for the long term. That's fantastic. Now the question is, do we Regolith first or do we Anthill first? And I think the answer is we are going to... Is whatever we play here going to get pinholed? Probably. Which one of these do you want to get pinholed first? Probably the Regolith. So what if we could ice R&D Regolith server 1, hit Regolith for credit. That's just saying pinhole me. We could Regolith MIC server 1 and take a credit or something. I think we do need to defend our centrals. We're still a long way off having a game plan towards winning, so rushing doesn't really work. And we do need to draw... It's so nice to hit the Regolith here, even though it gains the same amount of credits as just hitting gain credit. But it does immediately say you have to pinhole this, and it's so easy to pinhole. So I'm going to gain credit and assume that this gets pinholed. Yeah, we do need to draw a salvo testing to win. So we can't just have R&D checked every turn. That's not acceptable. We don't have burst draw like that. That can break lock in a meaningful way. Was R&D Mark, so this does probably scare away the run at this point. I doubt. Oh, does not scare away the run. But I can't. Can I afford to res MIC just to end the run? It denies them. It actually does deny them a click because they don't get the click from Sable. This was a risky run, man. If this was Boomy, they just tank it. Unsell tanks it. Like this is a ballsy run. I will deny them the click and the access because I have a way to bounce back my funds. One, two, three. This makes pinhole much worse by taking all 3 sets, and obviously we didn't really have another play. I think this is a pretty good draw so far. Obviously we can't really win until we find the salvo, so if they're all at the bottom, that's tough. But they can't really win until we find the salvo either, so maybe that's fine. Yeah, I think we're doing okay. Deck's felt smooth so far. Haven't had anything come crashing down. Nothing's going wrong. against some decks, I may even have considered keeping that first hand that had the salvos, but not against a deck that wants transfer of wealth. Because I need to be able to do Res Boomy, continue to encounter ice. I can let them use the boomerang. There's no reason to pop beforehand. Now let me think for a moment. Am I going to just remove the Boomy to stop this massive swing? I think I probably do. It's too much money. They don't have a Sentry Breaker, so it's not like they can do this every time. I only lose 3. That I can still res the Hakal. They do need to clear the tag if they take it on the chin. Maybe it goes through this time. Okay, maybe it goes through this time. Obviously, this is a lot of money for them, which is not great for me. They do trash the Anthill, which is free for them, which is because of Chesra. But if I remove the Boomy, they do still run the HQ. They still get the Sable Click back, so you shouldn't think of that as being the opportunity cost. Because they have clicks left anyway, so that's not... You don't deny access by popping it there, weirdly. Okay, that all went as planned. Oh, hello. That's fine. We just play it cool. We put that in server 1, and we say go. The cards from this are going to be very greatly appreciated because we can't live like this. If they just jailbreak HQ here, we will lose for sure. They have chosen not to run, which I think is crazy because you're wasting your Ches for credit, you're wasting your Sable Click, and the Revolver was only costing you 2. Maybe you're saving it for the late game for when you do need to run a remote. Okay, this is where I wish the Stoopstad was maybe money, but maybe it's fine. I need options now, I think. So I'm going to put this in a new remote and res it right away. I don't feel the need to put in a dupe stack because I don't think I'm fast advancing anything anytime soon. So I will draw. And then I'm happy to play a hedge fund. Okay. Money's good. Money is absolutely flowing. Having emptied a Regolith, we looking like we might empty an Anthill. Somehow no pinholes is a pretty bad draw. Very, very happy about that. Their money situation is amazing. But, Kuopio is still a lot of money to break. But okay, can't do anything about this. Leech for breakpoints. Okay, sure. Not important now, but certainly will be. And we have no purges. Mystic is great. Okay. Oh, some beautiful ice. I would like another asset. Do we put something in the remote server and see if they are able to run it? I don't think they're going to believe that they are able to run anything yet. So I'm going to install 3 cards. That's definitely going in server 1. I don't think we're scoring these ontologicals before the core damage. That's definitely going in server 1. And this is going somewhere else so that we can draw for our next turn. considerable to res here to like discard an onto because we probably don't need 3 ontos, but you know, we can do that later. They're probably not going to trash both spin doctors since it's just too many clicks. Maybe they will, and then it's probably fine. Pinhole here is actually more of a problem because you need to decide what to do with all of your other cards because they don't have to pinhole what this is. They can just pinhole. They don't have to announce a target. And then they could choose, rather than to hit this, to hit like an unres thing over here or a spin doctor or something like that. Keep that in mind when you've got multiple spin doctors down or any number of spin doctors down while you have an unres asset. Okay, nothing to be done here. Transfer of wealth again. Okay. First of the revolver counters coming out. Not using the Chesvo credits. I'm going to do this. Do I want assets? I think my remote's looking pretty healthy, so I think I do want assets, and I think Anthill's a card rule, which is really nice. Shove 2 Antills back in there. Let's res you and see if I can allow this access. It's pretty bad to... Well, this doesn't really deny the access because they're just going to run back a few times if I pop it. I think this is still too load-bearing of a single ice on HQ. Kurapira, so that makes all of our cheap barriers terrible to res, of which I believe there was an ablative in here, which I will now never res. And that was what I wanted to mention with regard to the risk of running large barriers alongside very small barriers in this current meta, where Kurapira is the best, the most common factor to expect. Mercia, hello. I want to spin doctor. Let's put you and you back in. Mercia. And I think I have no way of scoring the salvo testing if I jam it. So I could just gain a credit and say that he's not going to run HQ. He has a lot of money and he has plenty of breakers to run anything that I do. I could double ice HQ. After 2 transfers have hit the bin, that feels not good to do. I do need more money. I actually have less than it looks like I have. I'm going to keep my options open by crediting. I have 6 cards in hand, but it's fine because Mercia is going to install a... I think runners for the remote server. This is the downside of running these packages outside of PD, is that PD has 6 hand size, which is a lot more hand size than 5, it feels like. Your hand really can get this bad on PD just because you can have other things in there. Obviously, I can spin these away as well. Maybe I should have, actually. I should have drawn rather than getting a credit so I could spin an onto. That's probably correct. My bad. Okay, sure, gambling with Mystic Money, running archives for the free leech counters, lovely. Class Act just to draw back up. Okay. We have no defensive upgrades, so our ice is truly it. Can we confidently say that a boom, like 2 runs through a Boomy and a Hakal is too much for them to expect to be able to do, assuming that we use our Mercia as our defensive upgrade? I think that's not nearly enough. So I have to draw for more options. That's not a good draw. That's not good. I'm going to gain a credit. Mercy is going to install this Bran over here in server 1. And then I'm going to get rid of one of my salvo testings, and I think I am going to get rid of one of my ontos. R&D is the mark. They still can't break Mick. Hermes is probably fine. We're not going to score that many things. That's their way of getting through MIC, and they are going to do it. Are they going to fully break, or are they just going to do the 2? Well, it's the you never fully break. I could choose to end this, but it doesn't really do anything. So I'm going to let them see the top. We know there's probably no meaningful points in there. It does deny a click, an access into click, because they're going to get their Sable click from this, but NMIC is actually quite resilient. Yeah, I'm concerned remote server's ability to hold here, but we'll see. Multiple runs through a Bran is just flatly expensive. Okay, they're interested into what's here. This is where we can begin to tax them out, because now they're running not salvo testing. So we are going to raise Bran. Okay, they're using Leech just for single credits, that's fine. We are going to raise Boomy because we can pressure revolver counters a little bit. And it's not free. Now Hakal is not as good. Hakal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to fully break, and it gives a Kurabura counter. It is 5 cold hard cash, though. It is 5 cold hard cash. I don't know if I'm popping Mercia here. I mean, I just don't care if they can see dupe stat. Can I get back up from this? I think I can if I just credit up and then draw an asset. That makes me money, but maybe that's cope. We're definitely not going to de-res. Oh, sorry, we had a Spin Doctor. De-res another installed card. In my head, I thought it was nice. Right, and now we can decide what to do about this. I think we just let them see it because it does cost them money to trash the Mercia, and I don't care if they trash the dupe stat. We can reinstall it very easily, and it costs them a lot of money to do. Let's try and find money. Credit, credit, server 1. And MIC is still good. Jaguarundi is not good, I don't think. MIC is too expensive. Once again, Pinhole kind of ruins our hopes and dreams, but, you know, what can you do? I'm not impressed by these dupe stats. It's kind of a way to get the extra core, but the fact that it's not Tranquility is pretty upsetting. I think it's possible that Tranquility is just enough more money that it matters. Can't do anything about this. Well, I could immediately pop Boomy to prevent extra Bravado money. How much does it prevent? A bit. But also, this is the last of their revolver counters. That probably matters more than money. And again, I can't stop an access. Shouldn't think about it that way. But they just see dupe state grid. What are they going to do? Pay 4? No way they can pay 4, right? That would actually put them on a meaningfully low amount of credits. I doubt they'll trash, yeah. I could be wrong. Maybe they're like, oh, that's the second dupe stat. They do trash dupe stat grid. Okay, they're on 8 credits now, because that was, say, Bravado Run. They get all the money back afterwards. 8 credits is a lot, but, you know, out of revolver counters, that's pretty scary. You know, if that was Tranquility, they probably wouldn't have trashed it from my hand. So that's something to think about. Carmen is in, okay. With Leech, Carmen breakpoints are actually fine against my stuff. I see. Well, I suppose we do the Sable thing of icing archives. And then we just need to do this. The 4 money from Antil is going to be very juicy next turn, and that might be the window that we play. If they don't have good money operations in here, I will happily install advance the salvo testing and just say that's how I'm playing. Yeah, I'm going to raise and pop Boomy. Because this denies them 6 credits. And a leech counter. Just uses their chest first, so it doesn't really cost them money, but this clean getaway needs to be successful. So I'm going to use Leah to trash it by the way. And then I'm going to save my agendas, because I do not want them to be stolen. Using Spin Doctors removed from game text, which puts things back into your deck. Okay, now they are broke because I trashed that Boomy, denying them 6, because that clean getaway does need to be actually successful. Here's tricks. That's something. I think it's just install advanced salvo testing, and it's time to take a window that we have. Obviously, very tempting to Regolith for money. But when you have a window, you take the window, and our hand is disgusting, but we're never going to afford this plant. So if they transfer us again, we've already seen 2 transfers. It could totally have the 3rd transfer. They've class acted half of their draws. We should assume they have good cards. But so far, I'd say the deck is going well. I think there should be a defensive upgrade in here. I think there should not be Unsell in here. Unsell is feeling really expensive right now. I think there probably shouldn't be Hakal in here. I don't think it does enough. This is actually thinking of Hakal a bit cheaper than it looks like it is, because they will have a Kuopio counter to use for one of the Van runs, but the amount of money and the amount of clicks it takes, they cannot stop this salvo testing, which is nice. So I can score this. That's step 1 of our game plan complete. And then our options open up a little bit. Step 2 is probably nano management out any of these agendas. Oof. I might have to boot me this. In fact, I have to boot me this. Good roll on the mark there, getting R&D. I mean, not for them, for me. Yeah, we can't allow that to be there. Bounce back, plus. If we lose 3 credits there, we go down to 2, then we can't advance out the salvo testing, and everything is a mess. My opponent is saying that they may have to go, in which case, and they are somewhat acknowledging defeat, but I think they've still got a decent chance, just with Central Special alone. Okay, they click back from this. Unlikely to be an agenda, seeing we have so many of them in hand, but there's still 2 salvos in there. They really, are running out of time, because there's just no deck that can pressure Leo for that long, with just how expensive and large all of their ice is. I'm impressed by the deck, though. It's once I score this, even though it may look bad, and it is bad, seems like it's doing pretty well. This is potentially a disaster. Who cares? Oh my gosh, I forgot about Hermes. That's my bad. I'm not very good at the game, it turns out. Let's do server 1, because now we need to be able to res the unsell. How do I forget about Hermes? I'm so bad. What am I doing? Hermes is whenever agenda is scored or stalling, add a card to HQ, which means that you should assume bad things will happen to you all the time. We have to res and sell to tax out HQ runs at all, but we may be in a bad spot here. Aye. This is fine. This doesn't cost them just about anything, right? Now I can choose to pop to prevent the access. It might be a double access, which could be a disaster, but they're just going to run back. Onto. Okay, there was no Hermes target that time. How nice is that? But yeah, we are somewhat cooked. without like a seamless angle, there was no real way. I mean, we could have single advanced because the nano management can be a seamless, right, for 5 credits. But scoring the server off the board, even in that pretty generous window, was pretty hard. We have another one though. I wouldn't count ourselves completely out. And a fully resolved auto campaign plus an energy management can also fast advance it. There is no way that will happen, but you know, it's a nice idea. We also have 2 measured responses in the deck, but you can see how measured response can be an awkward card if you can't fetch it. A lot of the best measured response decks can either have bigger hand sizes or like ways to get it. Like the Ob deck can use the agenda that pulls cards from the bin and puts them into your hand. That's a way to have the measured exactly when you need it. This deck has no way to have the measured when you need it. It just hopes that you have the measured when you need it, which is maybe not as good. And I suspect the window, because like they're on vet 4 now, we've done no core to them. We had no opportunity to do any core to them. Well, yeah, we didn't really have an opportunity to do any core. But my opponent's got to go. That's completely fine. Let's now review the deck and see how we feel about things. Now that we have a bit of a feel for what the tempo of the deck is, what it plays like, what it needs, and what it's got too much or too little of. Was money good? Money was pretty good. Money was pretty good. I liked the 3 regulars is probably right. The anthills felt pretty smooth because the card draw is actually really good. This deck doesn't draw cards that well, and it can get them all out. Merciers were good. The Ice Suite. Okay, let's think about the Ice Suite because actually we'll start with the simple stuff. The Agenda Suite is wrong. Why is the Agenda Suite wrong? Because it shouldn't have Project Ingatan in it. So let's edit. At least one of these needs to go for a luminal transubstantiation. So that can be the first easy swap. Luminal is a card that was banned because it was too good, and then this faction needed a DEI handout, so it got it back. And I'm very grateful for it because it's a beautiful card. It is broken. When you score it, you get 3 clicks back. You can't score more agendas with those clicks, but like you can do anything else with them. That can be install, advance. It can be grab some megalith money. It can be anything. This card is broken. You should play it if you can. I don't need to explain that to old heads, but if you're playing HB, this goes in your deck full stop. Now, second to that, the second Ingatan is possibly also wrong. It should probably be 2 copies of Ilivigar by Purification. And I think that's how I pronounce that. And the reason I think that is because once I've scored the salvo testing, man, I'm gonna be broke. I'm not gonna be able to do anything. And because I'll be so broke, I don't want to have to have a nano management in hand and have a 2-pointer. I want to just do my one pointer. This is primarily to get the second core damage. This is not fast tracking me to a win condition. This is just 2 core damage is really good, both for this alternate win condition and this primary win condition. So we're going to use the Ilivigars for that. We're not going to use nano management plus a 3-2. I like this change already. Obviously, we get to cut a card from that, but we'll touch that later. Auto campaigns, I think, will never work. Full stop. I think having cards face up, ticking away that slowly it is not enough money to pay for itself. I'd much rather play Nico campaign if I'm thinking about money. The clicks demand so much of us. We need to have, if it does pop, say it does pop, fairyland almost. I need to have the salvo in hand. Okay. I need to have a nano management in hand, because just salvo, you can't score a 5-3 just off the auto campaign. It requires things to line up in a way that I don't expect to happen enough. And if it does happen that they could not have run their server for that long, I would rather just have had played the server testing. Yeah. So no autos doesn't work. I would consider Nico campaign. I would not consider auto campaign. Do we still need nano managements? The answer is maybe. What are they doing for us now? If we don't draw our Elivagars or our Elivagars get stolen, it means we could still fast advance out a 3-2 ontological. But I don't consider these core anymore. I don't think they're that important. Obviously, they can score out our luminal transubstantiation, but we're not really doing tricks with that. It's cool, but it is just that. So I think these are less important now that we're moving away from the 3-2 angle. I'm going to leave one in there for now. I just say, just as a placeholder, it's an option. Duke Stag Grid, I think, is probably too greedy. I think it's very expensive. We are going down to 0, and we're swapping them out with Tranquility. Because Tranquility, home grid, is crazy, and I want 3 of them. Please? We're still doing Messiah. Messiah is still absolutely bonkers in Leo. We're still doing seamless launch because we do actually need to score that 5-3. This is the only way to do it in a reasonable fashion. I didn't get to play with the measure response win condition. You can see how frail it is with how small an amount of time we spend at that threshold, and also kind of expecting everything else to go our way as well. I'm going to leave it for one game, and once one is more relevant where it could potentially work, I'll review that. Ansel is just not a good enough piece of ice for my mind. Jaggerundi doesn't impress me much. It's just kind of boomy but worse. I mean, a lot of things are going to be boomy but worse. This deck loves boomy, but whatever. NYC can go 2-3 probably, just to make up for the lost cards. I think Hakal... Does Hakal impress me? It is kind of doesn't much impress me when Brant's doing what it does, but it does say core damage on it, which is kind of funny. I think a Rite of Barrier doesn't make any sense for this deck. I think Kurapira is just going to eat it for breakfast. I would consider... I'd almost consider a freaking... What's it called? The Code Gate. The really good Code Gate. Where's my ice? Where are you? The Code Gate, they liked one of them on the server, the Scatterfield. I like Scatterfield Essentials. It's really nice. But it probably doesn't work in this deck. It does really, really want to stack things. Drafter is really good. It's another 3 strength, 2 subroutine, and having multiple of the exact same type can be over-indexing. So, 2 good against some things and 2 bad against other sets of breakers. Drafter is obviously a completely crazy piece of ice. One thing that I was thinking about that definitely is going on the list is at least 1 or 2 Manigam. Manigam expects so much from your opponent. After an already expensive run, it works really well with Tranquility home grid. I love having 2 of them in any deck I can possibly build. Draft is definitely worth thinking about. Eh? Need some more cards because we've trimmed down the card and we're going to be on 49 for a deck that has 20 agenda points in it. Do I still care about nano managements? I think 1 nano management is probably fine. In this deck, I wonder if we consider corporate hospitality, because you know how I mentioned measured response loves being fetchable? Well, you can do that. You can fetch it with corporate hospitality, which can not only draw it when you need it, but also grab it from the bin when you need it. Corporate hospitality is a 2-click, but you can still use the last click to play measured. The idea of the deck is largely that a single measured can kill. And this will always give you enough to be able to play that measure as well. So I think it's cool. I'm going to try it for sure. Now, this is not enough ice for a complete Leo list, so we do need to add more. Let's check just what the best Leos are doing, hey? So we're going to go to Leo Construction. We're going to find the best lists, deck list with this card. I know that Rotom's list was amazing. There were 2 drafters in there. There was 2 fly swatters in there. I think I'm very rarely sad to have fly swatter in the deck. They spent influence on tattoo. We don't have that kind of influence because we're doing measured. And I'm happy to leave the Antilles for now. I think that's actually a pretty reasonable include. Hagen is worse now that Dolls are gone, so I wouldn't strongly consider Hagen. I think Hakal is going to be our Hagen-like thing, and I'm going to be okay with that, even though I don't think Hakal is especially good. Okay, I think 2 drafter and 2 drafter and a fly swatter sounds just fine to me. 2 drafter, 1 fly swatter. Oh, that's 1 too many. Which one of these is going? Are they still on 3 MIC? They do like the 3 MIC in that list. Yeah, any of this stuff going? No. How many ice did they have total in the good list? 655, that's 16 ice. We are definitely lower than that. 14. So maybe we should cut a non-ice and keep the fly swatter. Maybe we'll go down to 2 tranquility. Maybe we'll go down to... Oh, maybe are we indexing too hard on these as our money? With just 3 hedge fund? I guess there's also some money in corporate hospitality. The deck's a little bit cheaper now that we don't have to nano management things. Maybe it's fine. Okay, we're going down to... And so we have tranquility as money as well. That's really nice. Oh, cutting cards is so tough, isn't it, guys? Let's cut 1 tranquility, go down to 2 tranquility for now. That might be viable. We'll touch it up soon. Okay. B2. B2. Save as copy. Grab it into Jinteki. Okay. Now this is going to be against a random opponent. Hopefully we roll a good one. I'm just going to check whether anyone has messaged me that would like to volunteer to be a test dummy. No, it looks like we're going to be rolling some dice. That's completely fine. And I'll try and catch up on chat, even though it's not really working for me right now. Okay, hello. Oh, goodbye. That's fine. Do I have my chat enabled? I actually don't know how this is working. This is strange. Hello. Welcome back. Okay, another sable. Very good test, I think, because you should expect sables in any kind of competitive environment. It's amongst the best decks, probably the best runner deck right now, just very sable. This is not money. This is not really anything to work with aside from it is ice. It is truly ice that I can put on HQ against turn one against Sable, which actually makes me pretty happy. Carl's not going to impress me on turn one, I feel. Manigarm's not going to impress me too much. This is probably not enough money. I don't think this is workable just simply because there isn't enough money here. Oh, okay. Well, this hand screams at me to do something, and I'm just going to say, okay. And it does kind of play around transfer, because I can res both the Sveglith and the Manigarm, go down to 1 credit, and then things are not so bad, right? Okay, we may have lost, but that just happens. That's what happens when you are playing against the best deck with transfer on 1. They did choose to play Steel Skin, which makes you think they want to do something and then clear a tag, but that may not be right. Okay, there, Queen Gathering Archives. You don't have to clear the tag in this matchup. There's no real reason to. They should just get this Vegalith. Okay. Sometimes your opponents make a mistake. They also didn't get their free click, but I don't think it matters too much. Okay. Well, that makes me pretty happy. 1, 2, 3. Lovely. Certainly the right play was transfer, and then you underserve it, even through the Manigarm, it's fine. There's nothing that I can res here that's going to scare you. Oh, it's a Masterwork deck. Okay. Let's see what they're up to. I'm already pretty happy to have a Manigarm around. Manigarm is just such an amazing card. It's so taxing. And you think about it, it's just like it costs you 2 and it install. And at the very least, the runner will have to spend like, holy, okay, that was just a salvo on top there. That's fine. Yes, well, to be fair, all the cards we've drawn so far could be in a top tier Leo list. So we can't just say that this deck sucks. It's not really the deck's fault. Sometimes you just lose on turn 2 to Sable. the fact that this is salvo rather than send a message or vulnerability audit is not a super meaningful difference, I think. So we can cope. Now they can't contest this Vega. Now I can technically de-res this Vegalith and put more money onto it, which is very funny, but I think I'm going to... I mean, it's kind of funny, but no. The other guy here is to do the next 4 damage after I score out salvo testing, which I'm definitely going to do. So let's take 3 from this asset, 3 more from this asset, and do I play Bran or do I just play the next Regolith? I probably play Bran on HQ. It's not looking good. They are kind of poor, which is pretty nice. I mean, it's something. Oh. Running HQ, this is absurdly risky from them for what this could be. It is just Bran, I don't have a punish. I'm going to let them through. They can take a Lithigar, it's fine. Okay, it's not great, but whatever. Draw. Unit server 1, sure. Okay, this is going poorly, but we can do it. Let's make them use their boomerang. They're going to spend their clicks. And then they can't use their Chesva, so they can't afford to trash this Manigar. This was probably a mistake. They almost certainly should have clicked for a credit first, so that they can at least trash the Manigar. Having to spend these 2 clicks twice is extremely, extremely expensive. And also they can't trash the Vegalith, which is pretty cool. Emptying multiple Vegaliths is kind of a win con. I want to be able to draw some cards, but it's hard to do that. This is not the chance. I need to find a salvo testing. I need money. I need bigger ice for my remote. Is it time to make Mercia run around and deliver the ice to where it needs to go? Probably. Let's do that before getting money. Draw once. I could draw twice, but install Mercia. I could Vego. Draw twice. This one needs to go into server 1, I think. We may just have to but now that we have the 2 seamlesses in the salvo, we may just over-install the Vegalith. And then our path to victory is draw a Livigar or draw a Nano Management to be able to get out the next one for the second core damage. And then it's just Central's town. Like, so we can just like draw the next ontological and win. It's not impossible. We could even jam the onto depending on whether we get a scoring window to do that. Revolver does deal with our stuff, which is nice, but yeah, we are definitely going to have to stop this. Jaichinho, okay. Looks like we are going to use this regolith. This is a bad matchup for a Jaichinho deck. But that does tell me maybe they don't have multi-access, you know? Maybe we can win this. Okay, and they spin the click. There's the Olivigar, that was part of our plan. Okay, is 8 credits enough for us to win the game, assuming we have to spend 3 on drafter? We can spend 3 credits scoring out the salvo. That brings us to 5. We spend another 2 scoring out the Olivigar. That brings us to 3. Then we can yeah, okay, so 5 credits is enough for us to win the game. So we can just play the salvo in server 1. And we're not going to install any ice. And now we just need to not lose off the top. I think that doesn't sound so hard. We'll find both of our what's them called? Measured responses. That will also work. That's another win condition. Seamless. Seamless. Advanced score. I'd love to do a core damage. I would love to install you over on R&D. They can't res this, but they don't necessarily know that. If they play a card, we can top deck lethal. Clickless masterwork cantrip? Nope, nothing. Obviously we can't res that. I don't even know really why they're checking this. I could pop it. Do I pop Mercia? I think I do pop Mercia because otherwise they are just going to see a card that I might want to see. Alright, please be the agenda that I need. That's just MIC, it's not that good. I could choose to play it slow, I could choose to play it fast. Dealing the second core now is pretty good, but they haven't proven they have a way to get through Bran, so maybe it's not urgent. Maybe I can regularly get credits from it, and that way I can raise this Bran and top deck the Olivigar for the ontological for the win, or the next Olivigar. I think that keeps my options pretty open, and because they haven't proved they can break a barrier, I think it's fine. The server 1, Regolith. It's working. It's all working. And man, am I glad that I don't have to pay for a nano management 3-2 right now. Okay. I will install that. Are you going to keep going or jack out? I'm just going to roll the dice on the excess. Please don't just win. Okay. Well, that went about as poorly as everything could, but I felt like I had a path to victory. Okay, so that was 8 unique accesses. That's pretty far below curve, so it was good accesses, and also, but we do have nothing to defend our agendas in the deck. Okay. I felt like there were paths to victory in both games. This game, I felt like the path to victory was faster and probably better, even though we kind of got rolled by Sables transferring us on turn one, with very little we could have done about it. I think this was a good game. We may go 0 for 3, which is obviously it would be a shame, but I'm going to play another game of this. Are there any changes I want to make? Well, getting the second core damage was kind of annoying. So that makes me want to think, do I want to bring back Dupestad? But if we look at the money situation, we couldn't have afforded Dupestad. Everything being cheap, it costing us basically 5-6 credits to win the game. Or maybe assuming we have to do the Elivigar as well, which I think we should assume. It costs us 3, assuming we're using both seamlesses, to advance out the first agenda. Then it's costing us 2 more for the Elivigar. It's costing us 2 more, so that's 7, and it's costing us 1 for the last Onto. Onto / Elivigar. That's not bad. That's the cheap route. It's a shame that we haven't really drawn the measured responses because they haven't justified themselves yet. There was a window in that game, I think, that we could have just drawn it and won. But because we haven't been drawing the 2 of them, and we have no way to get them, we have Corporate Hospitality now, and we'd like to draw that as well. I think I will maybe run this back exactly as is. Is there anything that this was obviously missing? The mana management in some games is going to be a must. Mana management in some games is going to be a must. So should there be 2 of them? No, because we can get it back with Corporate Hospitality if we really, really have lost it somehow. And otherwise we will find it eventually. And we only need it after the salvo's been scored, so we should assume we're pretty far through the deck by that point. I think this is an example of a one-off that makes sense. Corporate Hospitality being a flexible one-off that can get back what we need makes some sense to me as well. Did we like the Ice Suite? The Ice Suite felt beautiful. Had no problems with it at all. Okay, I'm going to run this back as is. I don't see an obvious swap that would have fixed that game. I think we just got high rolled. I think cheaper ice, something like a Tattoo Bowler, would have changed that game up for us quite a lot. If we could have, on turn 1 or 2, chucked tattoos on R&D or HQ, so that we couldn't have been transferred, and it would have printed us a bunch of money. Okay, hold Tattoo Bowler in your mind, because that may be where our measure of responsive fluids goes. I am going to go to the bathroom before the next game. So I'm going to turn off my mic and try to remember to turn it back on. Okay, I'm back. I would like to get a win today. It would be a bit of a shame if core damage Leo loses every game, but we've seen the potential. No, not that. You. Oh, how good am I? Alright, we're just going to run it straight back with this. Did I make a change? I feel like I did make a change now. Another 3 seamlesses, we need those. I want to see how this goes. It possibly we need more than that. The fact that it can be trash for one is a real big downside. A lot of our stuff can be trash, but that's okay. All right, we're going to keep the measures and we're going to run it like this. We have no influence, so we can't immediately put in tattoos, but if this goes wrong, what I would change next, I think this will probably be the last game of the experiment, would be trying out tattoo boulders in place of Hakals and using that influence by cutting, or maybe as well as Hakals even, but I don't know exactly how it should be swapped, and removing one measured response and just say, like, the measured response is probably not correct for this deck. It's just the window at which it's good is so marginal. Just gonna make sure I did this. Cool. All right, lovely. Let's get it up. And we've got a lap. Might be a little bit slower. Maybe give us more of a chance, room to breathe. Okay, Hedge Fund Ice. Very defensive start. Maybe useful. I don't like the Olivigar in my hand. That's just not useful at all, but it's maybe workable. There's no asset here to jam. I would love to jam against Shaper on turn 1, even Lat, which is on the more aggressive side of what Shapers are doing. And usually, I want to be able to jam. This is a good hand. Let's see what happens with Mulliganer. This is a better hand. Question mark? It's a bit early for Drafter, but I could play Hakal on the new emote, Regolith on server 1, and Spoctor in the new emote just to kind of take up their clicks, or do I play a Drafter on HQ? Let's Spoctor on the new emote and enter. Let's see how they spend their clicks. It's like having Spin Doctor down. Maybe it denies them a draw. Obviously, it would be nice. Because Lat's text reads, when your discard phase ends, if you have the same number of cards in hand as the corp has in HQ, you may draw a card. And you can use Spin Doctor's on-res effect to dodge that. It's not going to win the game for you, but it's like a neat little thing that you can do. First 2 clicks of draw, and they kept their hand. Oh, we're getting illuminated. I love the sound effect. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Draw illumination is going to be an issue for me. Anacam is going to draw off the illumination because it gets trashed after it installs it, and Anacam draws when a event is trashed. Illumination installs 3 cards if you make the successful run on R&D. So that was enormous value. Ooh, that was a really good turn one. Now we get to triple click this Vagalith, which makes me pretty happy. Unless they challenge it, in which case we do a core damage to them, which is also really good. Oh, and Lucy is here. And I kind of probably want to... Oh, they're not drawing. At the time with the 1 and 3 to Gabble Ontologic, I don't feel the need to res Spin Doctor. Oh, we're getting overclocked. SMC overclock is very flexible. But we can force it to be propeller or... We actually draw a lot of cards if we do this. So we can res the Spin Doctor for 2 cards. Then we can res the Hakal, de-res the Spin Doctor. And then they can encounter that. Now it's pretty cheap for them to go and grab a propeller, use only 2 counters and walk through it, using overclock credits. Also, we're at 6 cards now, so they cannot match us with Lat very easily. I believe they can Stone Chip very carefully, but if they do that, we can actually on reaction Spin Doctor. So they are definitely not getting Lat well this turn. Yep, it's the propeller. Then that was 3 to get the propeller, 2 to break, and then they can choose whether they want to spend 3 of their money to deny me the opportunity to They do deny me the opportunity to grab more money. That's fine. Now, normally this propeller can easily walk through Hakal a second time. But man, I'm happy this is Tranquility right now. I'm not Jupe Step. This is going to keep me ticking along. Oh, I can't escape it, dude. Nothing I do ever escapes this card. And they steal. It's fine. It's probably fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's probably, yeah, it's fine. We don't have a punish for that tag. They did just cheekily use their Stone Chip before I was able to trash it. Not that I think I would spend a quick click and 2 goes to do that. We definitely want you in server 1. I definitely want you in server 1. I definitely want a credit. And that's all. Now, hopefully they face check this. Sometimes they do. If they face check, they're thinking everything is fine except for MIC and Drafter. And MIC is not that bad because I can't afford to res it, so they'd be thinking only bad hit is MIC, is Drafter. What could go wrong? And that's good. That's exactly that's exactly the time that you should play your drafters. Running Spoctor, I will absolutely res that. And I will absolutely not use it. Because them spending 2 is much better than adding anything to my deck. Let alone having these around lets me have more drafter targets and better drafter value. I have no problem with this access. This doesn't do anything. Lovely. This gets me my first drip of value. Now it's time to make my centrals expensive. Maybe one on each. It's good to diversify your portfolios. Okay. Not sure when this server is going to come down. I might need to wait until I draw more stuff for that, because should consider this card to be like infinitely permeable right now. I guess I can pop it, but that doesn't fix problems. I need a way to score this server. I can't install Advanced. It costs too much and it's too slow. It's too money. So I'll definitely try and get this Trank value next turn, but it's going to feel good doing a core damage to Lat if I possibly can. Okay, this makes things a little bit more awkward. Please don't steal my salvo testing. That's fine. Many runs for singles. I wonder what this deck is trying to do where it doesn't also run. I guess its influence are going to run a couple of transfers. I don't imagine there'll be just one. Unfortunately, can't punish this, even though this is crazy risky. Any failed run or anything is just bad news. Okay, they get their Anakin value. Oof. Let's find an asset. I'm going to advance this because I can still, if I advance them down to 6, res Drafter I'm at 3, res Mana Gun I'm at 1. That's not good. I just need the 2 credits, man. Oiler is good. It breaks MIC for 3. I think you should really wait until there are some guaranteed MICs there. This is interesting. I will res this Drafter. Going through this multiple times is going to be pretty expensive. They can simul-ship for the SMC and get overclock, sorry, for the SMC, and then pop the SMC and get. This does cost a lot, actually quite a lot of money. Oh, they're using Revolver. Okay, that's pretty cheap. I'm going to pop this. So draw the seamless is very good, otherwise I'm going to put a booming on this and click for some credits. And just say that the revolver is not going to cut the mustard. Because there's a spin doctor in my bin, if drafter fires... They're worried about measured. It's just funny because it actually is in the deck, but we literally have not drawn it at an even remotely useful time. Have we drawn it at all? It's been at the bottom of the game. Oh, okay, they played a short gamble. Do I res the Manigar to make them spend 5 money? That way, if I draw either measured, I can play them. I can even draw for measured. They do have 8. Do I think they're going to take the salvo testing and not trash either Tranquility or Manigar? Do I think they're going to do that? I think I have to raise the Manigar, make them spend the 5. They spend all their money. Okay. Now we have to find our cards. We have to draw. Probably don't need you anymore, probably don't need you anymore. This is going very poorly. We've ended up with a handful of ice and none of our money assets. We can still win, we still have the measures. But maybe that's kind of cope. Let's hope. Am I jamming the salvo? No, I still don't have a way to score it. So we will res Mercia. We will put a Boomy onto server 1. And we will discard a MIC. Because flickering an oiler just breaks MIC very cheaply. We can't afford it. We could pop Spin Doctor now to make them think that there's something interesting going on here, but I don't mind waiting on it either. This is not going well. We haven't been able to go quickly, and we haven't been able to go slowly either. There's an awkward middle ground. They are turning on. I think we have to do this just because we can't risk it 2 and 5 to lose. It's 40%. At least not multiple times. Like they can still get through if they really want to. Okay, this verdict everything. Do I want to pop MIC? Yeah, I think I do. Are we salvo testing now? I think so. We're spinning. Yeah, we can spin back some cards. Spin back some MICs, I guess. I want the other ones as options for drafter or something like that. There's going to be salvo testing in server 1. Gain credit. If I advance, I do have the seamless. If I don't advance, I don't really have anything I can do. Maybe I should have put regular mana compact or something. Just do more upgrades. It costs us so little money to score these if we have seamlesses. We just don't have enough seamlesses. Man, I wish I was playing PD. Let's see, next turn looks pretty awkward if I do res this Boomy for them. But if I res the Boomy, then nothing's happening. Actually, am I using this text? I think I need the Messiah in the remote, so I can't. No, let's take this turn back. It just doesn't make sense. I'm playing too slow as well. Let's put the Anthill in here, server 1. Gain 2. Gain credit, and turn. We're going to check the Boomy on HQ and say that's fine. They don't have that many revolver credit counters. Is this deck working? Will I win games with this if I brought it to a tournament? Not sure. Not sure if this has been a success. I think the patient came in not in that bad of a state, but with some obvious symptoms, like the agenda suite was not right. I think it's safe to say I've made the agenda suite better, and I could even be reasonably confident this is the right agenda suite. I'm not sure if I've improved the ice. I'm pretty sure I have. The money situation is still a problem because we spent so many slots doing other things, and I don't know if I've fully answered the question of what we should be doing. Should I res Boomy here? I have to, right? And then I can't res Anthill, and then I can lose, but... Okay, they're not bravadoing through the Boomy at the very end. Now we're just going to get credits, I guess. We don't really have choices. The deck is better. The deck is losing. Can it work? There were a couple of cards that just happened to say core damage, but I don't think that's enough reason maybe to be doing this. It's just, yeah, it's hard. The good Leo deck has so few cards dedicated to agendas because it just runs the 6 3-pointers and the good one. All the agendas are extremely tempo positive and give you money. You can run lists that run off-world office and architect's deployment test and things like that. These agendas are not tempo positive, but they do help you win the game. It does kind of put you in an awkward... Oh, okay. So they've refreshed their Revolver, which is bad for us. We cannot let this happen. Unfortunately, we can't afford to raise this farm, so if they do that, we just lose. Probably just lose here, too. Oh, there you go. That's the win card. Okay, we have a little bit of breathing room here. What's going on, HQ? Bron? Drafter? Maybe we need Bron for the remote. I think we need Bron on the HQ just to end the run. They can, because they can't break it. And then we need credits. Next turn, we make big money off the Anthill. We jam the Salvo, we jam the Drafter, and we figure it out from there. Right, guys? That works. Not seeing the path especially clearly here, but there must be lines. The deck is not too bad, I think. I wonder if these Anthills are right. I haven't given these enough thought. Have they been good? They've been good. I don't think they should be cohorts. I don't think they should be humanoids. Humanoids is the obvious thing where it's like, it doesn't cost influence. So maybe these should go, humanoids should come in. But then what are we playing with the humanoids? We're not running Hansei Review. So it's just hedge funds? I don't like that. Okay, big cash infusion here. So what is it? Hedge fund, salvo testing, and then I can choose between Mercia or advancing the salvo testing. I could draw. I could not play hedge fund. I could Mercia, salvo testing, advance, and that way I've got honestly quite a lot of money. Maybe this is our window. Okay, I think if we don't get it here, if we don't score this here, we don't really have a path to victory. So let's try and make this work. Because like eventually they will hit on a single. Actually, I'm realizing they have a simul chip down, and maybe this is not expensive for them at all, but it's still quite a bit of money. Cataloger may also cause us some issues, but we can figure that out. If we raise the Bron here, we still have some money left, and they'll probably flicker the propeller to try and use the cataloger. It does still rely on them missing the cataloger, but if that's how they're spending their clicks, it's not the end of the world for us. And it still relies on them missing cataloger as in 4 cards off the top. I have no interrupts or anything like that will stop it. I could pop this brand technically now, but it does not fix anything. Okay, so they got rid of the coalescence to grab the propeller. Yeah. Cool. And we're going to say action, even though technically there's no. You have to say no action because sometimes you have Spin Doctor installed or something like that, but because this card is advanced, there's no standard legal card that could interrupt what Cataloger is doing right now. What Cataloger is doing is it's rearranging the top 4 cards of our deck in any order they choose, as in putting the agendas on top, and now they press the button and they find Illivigar by Purification, which is only 1 point. So we can be pretty sure now that the top 3 cards are not agendas, because otherwise they would have put them on top and gotten more than 1 point and won the game. We finally get a path to victory, which is going to involve seamless advance, scoring this, doing a core damage, and hoping to high heavens that we don't just get one of these stolen next turn, which there's no reason for them to not run HQ, I don't think, but we can continue to get very lucky, right? This is going to give us enough money for the rest of the game. This is the next core damage, this is the core damage after that. We unfortunately couldn't move this Mercia onto HQ because we don't have an ice to install with it. Mercia installs an ice and follows it. You got it? Okay, we lose again. That's fine. That was us just kind of getting... Oh, they did see the measureless plants. We got outplayed, but They were just being relatively efficient and we were just not. We were just not being efficient. Why were we not being efficient? What were we doing so wrong that regular Leo can do so easily? Okay, I will say the patient is surprisingly. I thought we would get better results than this. After the first game going mediocre, made some change I'm pretty confident in. I think the deck is still bad. Unfortunately, we didn't draw a lot of the interesting stuff. Maybe I can do a follow up at some point. It's definitely staying in my list of decks that I can play. I like the Corporate Hospitality idea. I wish I could have tested it. Maybe I should have put more in for the purposes of that. Measured response in that game would have been nice to see, but of course we didn't see it. I think having 3-mana management was too much. This is a better agenda suite, I'm fairly certain. This is a very high quality ice suite, which I'm pretty happy with. I'm not sure about that, Carl's, but that's probably okay. You can see how rarely the core damage subroutines actually fire ever. Runners just don't let subroutines fire. Like, good decks just don't fire subroutines. Tranquility, I think, is probably better. You don't need to kill them. You just need money. You need tempo. I like Manigam. It works well with the Tranquility and is just a good card. Mercia, of course. Seamless, of course. In fact, I wish there was a way that we could get the seamlesses. They're just so important if we can only score them off the table. Not that we have to limit ourselves to only scoring them off the table. Future experiments I might do would be to say, like, can we run a big deal list in here? Can we do Skunk Void and play like Hyper Glacier? But then I think at that point you should just not be playing this list. You should be playing the other agenda suite. Because, if you can score out everything off on the table, why do they have to be the core damage cards? Why not run the ones that give you things? But yeah, okay, I hope everyone enjoyed that experiment, that deck doctoring. And maybe learned something. Maybe learned nothing and hated it, but watched the whole thing. I appreciate you anyway. And I want to thank you to everyone who submitted their decks in the first place, specifically to Peter Cilio. Very kind. And yeah, have a great day.